Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the closing bell for Monday, March 6th. I am your host for the day, Riley Magnuson. Jeff is out of the office. Got plenty of things keeping him busy, so I am doing a solo show for tonight's action. Probably, as I always say, going to be fairly short and sweet. Maybe a little recap of the weekend, and obviously tying into tonight's college basketball slate. We've got some not any of the big conferences, I don't believe, but plenty of really solid mid-major action going on. A couple of championships, I know. Some bids punched, and maybe a couple semifinals. Handful of NBA games, and then we'll get the heck out of here and get ready for the week, which after today is going to be wall-to-wall basketball for each of the next 5 or 6 days, and then obviously we lead right into Selection Sunday. So things are heating up. We've already got a one bid or two tickets punched for the brackets. I'm drawing a blank off the top of my head, but I know we had a couple of championships over the weekend. But without further ado, as I said, a little bit of a recap. We had the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Kurt Kitayama, 9 under, gets the finish. Plenty of guys at the top of the leaderboard at the end of it there. As I mentioned, failed to get my blog off, but I got my picks out early Thursday morning. Had a nice bounce-back week. Just missed a huge weekend. Sung J M double bogeys the 17th on Sunday to fall to tied for 21st. Otherwise, even just a bogey, or especially just if he managed to par on that one, he would have gotten me top 20, top 10 for himself, and would have been well over 2 units. So I got a nice positive 1 unit on the weekend with Matt Fitzpatrick getting top 20. Cam Young managed to get in top 10 with a late round Victor Hovland birdie to push Cam Young into the top 10 there. So very thankful for that one. Very thankful for a solid tournament and solid weekend, and we will get you geared up. Plenty of people getting you geared up this week on the ECSI for the Players Championship. Obviously, aside from the 4 majors, that is considered the 5th major. So it's going to be a heck of a tournament as well this weekend. I'm going to have a blog for sure. I know I've promised it last weekend and wasn't able to get it there, but definitely going to have a blog coming this week as well, either tomorrow night or Wednesday morning there. And then I'm sure whether it's myself and Jeff, or Jeff and any of his other co-hosts and guests, we will have plenty of action and plenty of talk for the Players Tournament there, Players Championship there. As far as look-ahead lines, we can jump right into that real quick just to give a quick cap. This past weekend at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, you had the 3 Rahm, Rory, and Scheffler as the top 3 favorites, and that's what you got again. I'm seeing Rahm and Rory plus 850. Rahm had a fantastic first day and then absolutely collapsed. And then by I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday when I was watching, but by the end of it, obviously just mentally checked out and went from bad to worse for Rahm. So he's probably due for a bounce back there. Rory and Scotty Scheffler had a solid tournament. Scotty's 10-1 plus 1,000 there. Followed by 4th right now, Patrick Cantlay, and then Max Homa, Justin Thomas, 19-1. Schauffele, Hovland, Finau, Morikawa, Zalatoris, Spieth, Fitzpatrick, the usual suspects right behind him there. So it's going to be another good one. I am juiced for that one. That's one of my favorites to watch all year long. So as far as that, outside of that, as I mentioned, plenty of action over the weekend. College basketball, you had, I didn't talk too much about it or at all, but you had the huge UFC events as well. John Jones gets a submission win. Shocking Valentina Shevchenko loss there. I was not expecting that one. She's been obviously an absolute train for the last I don't know how many years, and then loses that one. Probably going to get a rematch there, much like you got with the Amanda Nunes when she lost. Kind of a similar situation, I imagine, there, as long as Shevchenko wants it there. So aside from that, you get an upset with, or at least ranking-wise upset. Texas A&M taking down Alabama over the weekend. In my Big Ten neck of the woods, you had some awesome games. And now you've got a couple on, I believe it's Wednesday, the first round of the Big Ten tournament with Ohio State and Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska there. So as far as those 4 teams, Minnesota and Nebraska's going to have to go on a dream run. They're playing a lot better. They could upset somebody after Minnesota there. Ohio State's also playing a lot better. If they can get through Wisconsin, they obviously need to win the Big Ten tournament, but they can go on. hunt down and pull a couple upsets off. Wisconsin is one of the teams on the bubble. They obviously have to beat Ohio State, and then I could be wrong, but I want to say the winner of that game will play Iowa. If you're Wisconsin, you probably got to feel like you need to beat Ohio State. Obviously, if you lose to Ohio State, you're toast. And then you probably feel like you need to beat Iowa, and then at that point, you're still probably holding your breath. So things are going to be interesting in the Big Ten. A lot of bubble teams. That's going to be a huge Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going to be huge for the bubble watch in the Big Ten and the entire, obviously, bubble there. So I will obviously be tapped into that. But without further ado, we can get right into tonight's games. As I mentioned, I think it's only 2 championships, the Sun Belt, South Alabama, and Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, and then Chattanooga and Furman in the SoCon. Both of those 6 my time, 7 o'clock East Coast time. And then you've got a nice game later in the evening. Gonzaga's favored by almost 15, but San Francisco-Gonzaga could be a nice one there. And you got plenty of a couple semifinals. BYU St. Mary's, same conference there. Could be a fun one there. So curious to see what anyone's got on these thoughts. I'm typically not the mid-major guy, so if anyone's got strong thoughts on any of these games, do not hesitate to jump in the comments, and we can chat back and forth about it or do whatever we got to do to get these lined up here. But first one up, this one, I'll skip over the Southland tournament, the semifinal, or the second round there, McNeese and Nichols. I'll skip past that one to the CAA semifinal, UNC Wilmington and Hofstra. Hofstra is favored, last I checked, favored by 7 right now. I believe this is most of these obviously are neutral court. Might go without saying, but every once in a while you got to dig in a few of these conferences. If you were the number 1 seed or a handful of reasons you can get the home court advantage. This one appears to actually be neutral court for this one. As far as I know, if I'm wrong, please stop me and I'll eat my words, obviously. But this one is in DC, so again, Hofstra down to 6.5 on a couple public books there, plus 7 in a lot of spots for UNCW. Only played one time this year. Hofstra was 3.5-point favorites and won that one 70-46. So a pretty lopsided score in that one. Now you're at 7 again. This one, I'm kind of a little curious if obviously it was 3.5 at Hofstra on their home court. They get the blowout win, so now it's up to 7. Kind of respect that, but at the end of the day, UNC Wilmington can be a little sneaky and keep these games pretty close. So I'm not going to go give any leans or anything on this one, but would not surprise me if UNCW is able to keep this one close. Total on that one is 133.5. As I mentioned, the first time around when these two teams played, I said it was 70-46. So 116 close, or excuse me, not close. 116 was the final score for the total there. 139.5 was the total on that one. And now you're at a 133.5. So I could see this one staying a little bit under that again. I think it's probably going to be close to that, but we'll cruise past that one. I don't have strong thoughts past maybe UNCW keeping it close, honestly, there. So the other one, the two championship games here, Chattanooga at Furman, on a neutral court, Chattanooga and Furman for the SoCon championship there. Chattanooga, obviously, people remember them last year as a scrappy team. I know they gave Illinois, I think it was on day 1, a run for their money, and it was a 1-point win for Illinois there with Chattanooga. Tonight, you've got Furman down to -3.5. It was higher than that. A lot of people interested in Chattanooga after what they did last year. 18-16 this year at up against 26-7 Furman. So you know what? At the earlier number, whatever it was, 4.5, 5, I probably would have been interested in it as well, especially when you're looking 2 matchups between these two this year. At Chattanooga, Chattanooga was actually a 1-point favorite. Furman gets it done by 8, 77-69. Second game, February 1st at Furman, and Furman has 10.5-point favorites, gets it done 79-58, so pretty comfortably there. So now to see it where it is, again, I would have liked it. I would have preferred it if I'm jumping in to get Chattanooga at the 4.5, 5. But I would not be surprised at all if Chattanooga can keep this one close and keep it scrappy and actually take care of business in this one. They've won, obviously, to get to this point, they've won 3 straight. Took down VMI by 20 as 14.5-point favorites, beat Samford as a short underdog, 85-82. and then took down Wofford as 4.5-point favorites by 12. So they are playing really well right now. Furman, obviously, the number one seed from that conference throughout the season. So to only see them 3.5 is a little concerning from my perspective here. But again, you're getting a little bit late on the number there. It's down from I think even 5.5 at open is what I'm seeing here. Sometimes that number is wrong. I do know it was for sure at least at 4.5 earlier in the day today. So be on the lookout for Chattanooga to make things interesting and maybe be another, I think this would probably, I can't remember what they were as a seed last year, but maybe a 14, 15 seed if they can get that done. Furman maybe a 12, 13 if they end up taking care of business there. Maybe I'm overestimating them, I don't know. But other one up there, the Sun Belt Championship. This one is in Florida, so definitely a neutral court as well. ULL hosting South Alabama, minus 1.5-point favorites here for ULL. 139 is the total. These two teams have only played, they played twice actually so far. ULL wins them both. At South Alabama as 1.5-point favorites, 79-76. And then February 24th at ULL as 4.5-point favorites, and then they win that one by 10, 74-64. Both totals a bit higher, 141.5, 146.5. The second one stays under. The first one goes over, and now you're looking at 139 as the total. USA, South Alabama, 19-15 this year. ULL, 25-7. ULL, the 2 seed in this tournament. USA, the 8 seed. So to see this one as close as it is as well is definitely a little concerning if you're interested in ULL. Again, take my advice on mid-major games for whatever it's worth, a grain of salt for sure, because I am not the mid-major guy typically. But USA as a team that can make this scrappy and potentially keep this one. I'm gonna lean towards USA and the under in this one. Obviously, you've got a chance to get a couple points here, maybe by the hook to 2, keep it to a close, low-scoring game potentially. But I'm gonna lean towards USA and the under in this one against the old Ragin' Cajuns. Cajuns have won 4 in a row, 2 before the tournament, and then 2 obviously in the tournament here. 67-49 as 9.5-point favorites against Georgia Southern, and then 6-point win against Texas State as 7-point favorites. While USA 3 straight wins, all in the tournament here, all covering. First one against App State as 4.5-point favorites. They win by 7. Short dogs to both USM, Southern Miss, and James Madison, 1.5-point dogs. And they take care of business. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of them as dogs, as 1.5-point dogs, maybe they are due for that slip up now, third straight time as 1.5-point dogs, if you want to look at it like that. But now up against the number 2 seeded team in this conference. I would be a little concerned if I'm jumping into ULL, but this one, I could see this one being a coin flip, and this one could be an awesome, awesome finish there. So let's see. Moving on, this one is in the Horizon League. I believe that is a semifinal there. Northern Kentucky against Youngstown State here. This one is in Indiana on a neutral court here. Youngstown State 3.5-point favorites. Northern Kentucky 20-12. Youngstown State 24-8. Youngstown's the number 1 seed here in this tournament. Northern Kentucky number 4 seed. Let's see. From open, I believe this one was 2.5 at open, now up to 3.5. And we're looking at Northern Kentucky. A split between these two this season. Early December 1st, Northern Kentucky gets the 77-73 win as 1-point favorites on their home court. Flip it over to 3.5 at Youngstown State, 74-56. Nice win there. So I'm not sure where I'm leaning in this one. I liked Northern Kentucky a lot last year. Now you're looking at Youngstown State on a neutral court. Again, 3.5-point favorites here. So I am a little torn on this one. This one could be a really tough game as well. Tough one to call. I'll lean towards Northern Kentucky covering the spread. After you get a 3.5-point spread the first time around and Youngstown State wins by 18, now you keep it at 3.5, and you're expecting Youngstown State to do the same thing. I'm going to be a little hesitant, and I might lean towards the old Northern Kentucky Norse on this one. They have won 3 straight. I believe only one here in this conference tournament. I don't think there's as many teams as there used to be in the Horizon. So I think this is only game number 2 for them in the tournament. Same thing with Youngstown State. I think it started with quarterfinals for both these two teams. Northern Kentucky actually won 2 on the road coming into it, though, which is a nice sign sometimes. At Detroit, win by 3 as short favorites. at Oakland, short favorites again, and you win by 9, and then you follow that up, beat Oakland again for the second straight time at 6.5-point favorites, and you beat them by 7 there. So Youngstown State on the other end of it, 2 straight wins. Last one against Detroit as 8.5-point favorites. They win by 5 at Uipui, win by 14 as 15-point favorites. So nothing terrible there, but I'm going to take Northern Kentucky kind of playing their best ball potentially right now. I shouldn't say best ball like I know what they've been doing, but I'll say looking good right now, winning on the road, taking care of business on these neutral courts. I'll take Northern Kentucky to potentially get this win here in Indiana, advance to the championship. I'm drawing a blank who they would play. We'll get to that one in a second, though. Let's see. Oral Roberts hosting St. Tommy's, number 1 Oral Roberts, 28-4. Utah State. Not Utah State. St. Thomas. I'm seeing UST. St. Thomas, number 5 team in this conference, 13-point favorite for Oral Roberts here. Obviously, everyone loves Oral Roberts. They are they're the wagon of this conference here. They've won both these matchups fairly handily. 12-point win as 12.5-point favorites on their home court, and then 8.5-point favorites at St. Tommy's, and they win by 7. So this probably could be another one where it's really close to that spread there. Oral Roberts had so far in this tournament, this is game number 2 for them in the tournament, 16.5-point spread, and they win by 16 against North Dakota. And they really have been coming right on their spreads here. So whoever's setting these lines for Oral Roberts has been pretty damn sharp. See if I can see anything for. I assume everyone, the public, is going to be all over Oral Roberts. So I'm going to pump the brakes on Oral Roberts in this one. St. Thomas. As I was watching them the other day, they can put up a fight. They're a little streaky, a little scrappy, a little inconsistent, but no lean whatsoever. But I'll say they, again, this one, Oral Roberts by 10 is what I'll say on this one, and Oral Roberts moves on there. So let's see. Moving on to what conference is this? Charleston hosting, or I should say CAA Championship. Towson at College of Charleston is a neutral court there. The number 2 team in that conference, College of Charleston, at least in the conference play against the number 3 team, Towson. Only a 4.5-point spread in this one. 29-3 Charleston, obviously one of the mid-major darlings of the year in college basketball this year. Towson playing pretty well, though. Both of these 2 teams have played twice. December 31st, Charleston wins by 2 at Towson as 3-point favorites. And then, again, at College of Charleston on February 23rd, they win by 8 as 8.5-point favorites. So, again, another one where they've been right on with these spreads. Their last 2 games, they've beat Stony Brook, I think it is, 2 times in a row. The first game here in the tournament, they won as 20-point favorites by 22. The one before that, they won by 40. And before that, they beat Towson by 8 as 8.5-point favorites. So these lines have been pretty damn close for them. I'm a little concerned that this one's only at 4.5. I could see this one being a really close game. Maybe Charleston pulls it out at the end. But another one where it's another team that has got an awesome record. People have probably won a lot of money on them all season long, and now you're getting a team in Towson that nobody really knows about. And it could be a tricky spot here for Charleston trying to get to the championship. They've been really solid against the number, 18-13 this year, obviously 29-3 overall record. So as only a 4.5-point favorites against a team that's been kind of close with them a couple times, been right around that spread. Maybe it's another one where they win by 4 or 5 or something like that. But I'd be interested in Towson to keep it a little scrappy. Another team that didn't win at College of Charleston, but it's a tough win. They cover an 8.5-point spread at College of Charleston. This team, obviously, right here. They go to Wilmington, UNCW, win as short road favorites, and then they take care of business. 6-point favorite in the first game of the tournament against Delaware, and they win by 26. So another team, underdog team that's kind of playing well right now. So I'd be buyer beware on College of Charleston if you're trying to jump right into that one. Let's see. Another one that just based off record seems a little fishy. Don't know enough about these 2 teams, but I've had some success trying to, kind of cherry picking these records. I'm losing my place on this one here. New Orleans and Southeast Louisiana, Southland Tournament second round. just an 18 and 13 team against an 11 and 19 team, and it's only a 5.5 point spread. Just seems a little fishy there, so I won't spend any time beyond that one. But my friend TJ here, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for popping into these conversations and sparking the non mid major. As much as I love my mid major, I can't ramble on as much as I can with these other ones. So ACC, Miami, the Hurricanes win the ACC. I don't dislike it at all, my man. I really do. It's one of the two teams that I trust the most out of there, and the other one, Virginia, not playing their best ball. I don't have Duke is a tournament team, but I don't have a ton of respect for Duke. I think Miami could absolutely give them their best shot. If Miami's playing their best ball, could look like the best team in this tournament. Clemson, a team I was surprised to see Clemson's odds where they were. Honestly, that was another one that could be kind of a dark horse at 6-1 with the way their season. Obviously, they started off fantastic and kind of faded. That one was a little interesting. UNC, they're starting to play a lot better. I still don't think. I don't think they're evolving into the number one team that they started off this season as. So as much as I think they'll probably get themselves into the tournament, I don't think they're going to go on some really nice ACC tournament run like they did last year. Pittsburgh at 11-1. Pittsburgh and NC State 11-1 and 14-1. I would have respected kind of if they were. I would have expected Clemson to be in that category as well. So if either of them were in that Clemson category, where 6-1, 7-1, I would have been a little surprised to see that. Would have respected that for sure there. So I'm with you, man. I will go on record and say I'll take the Canes to win the ACC tournament. Plus 360. I'm seeing. Obviously, I haven't done my line shopping on that one. Not sure if I'll actually do it, but I'll go on record with you and say Canes to the obviously going to the tournament, but getting that ACC bid. I do like it and cutting down the nets there. So I guess if you're still here and you're in the comments, what's your as unbiased as possible expectation how far they can get? I'm trying to see what some Final Four odds are here. 15-1 for Miami to get to the Final Four. I like doing some of these Final Four odds along with maybe some dark horse championship odds there, but I don't hate Miami to get to the Final Four at 15-1 either. So I'm interested to see what you're thinking with that one there. So if Jeff and I talk tomorrow, I think we will. I'm sure we'll probably dive more into these tournaments. I know the ACC starts tomorrow, but I think it's the bottom four teams there, so nothing drastic should change there. Bottom six teams: Georgia Tech, Florida State, Louisville, Boston College, and then Notre Dame, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's the only somewhat relevant team there that's playing tomorrow. So. Wall-to-wall basketball, but probably have to wait till Wednesday to get some really good Power 5 games there. So moving on to the BYU St. Mary's game here. St. Mary's minus 6.5, 7. This one opened, I think it opened at 7 right there. Obviously, St. Mary's tournament team. They don't have to win this conference championship like sometimes they often do to get in the tournament. I think they have the scoring and coaching to go far. I'm with you. At least as far as Miami goes, to cut back into that, just in a down year of the ACC, they are the one team that I have a lot of respect for. I think they could have hung in just about any of these other conferences. If UNC was in, some of these other conferences or Clemson, they wouldn't have started out like that. I wouldn't have expected them to have the same success. I don't trust them the same way I do with a team like Miami. I think they're solid enough to make a nice run. So I'm interested to see. Hopefully their draw lays out favorably for them, and we can have some fun with that one. And I might have to jump into that. Got to do my line shopping. Might have to jump into them to get to the Final Four there. So back to BYU St. Mary's. This matchup twice so far at BYU on January 28th, 6.5 point favorites. SMU wins 57-56, and then at St. Mary's as 10-point favorites, they win by 6. So if you're thinking it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, then obviously you're interested in BYU. As close as those games have been, I think this is pretty fair here, 6.5, 7. Curious to see what the public buy-in is. Pretty 50-50, pretty split on this one. Maybe, the over or under, especially after, what was the second game? 71-65. So kind of a toss-up here. I'll lean towards the under in a slow-paced game here. But BYU, another team that's playing fairly well. They obviously Lost to St. Mary's, their last loss on February 18th. They beat a solid San Francisco team at home. They beat a tough, scrappy Portland team in the tournament, beat a tough Loyola team also, was that 2 days ago, by 10 as 3-point favorites. So I'm not holding my breath for BYU. I've had some tough, rough beats with them this year, as I'm sure anyone who's bet on them has. They are a positive team against the number, but at the end of the day, I think this one's pretty spot on. This one could be a good game, but St. Mary's could show up ready to go. This is their first game in the tournament. They haven't played since February 25th when they lost at Gonzaga. So ready to probably get that taste out of their mouth with, and they know obviously they're probably going to play Gonzaga again. Potentially, man, you never know. But they've got. Hopefully, they're not looking ahead to potentially that. I guess if you believe it, then and they might be looking ahead to assuming that they play Gonzaga. Maybe this is a tough spot for them. But I could see this one going a number of different ways. So I'm going to stay away from it. Could be an ugly. The total at 129.5 could be another ugly one. I think BYU can give them a run for their money, but it wouldn't surprise me if St. Mary's shows up and lays the hammer down. But anything can happen in that one there. 3 or 4 games left. The other Horizon game, the other semifinal in accordance with the Youngstown State and Northern Kentucky semifinal in the Horizon. Cleveland State at Milwaukee. This is number 2 and 3 teams in that conference. 20-12 Cleveland State, 21-10 Milwaukee, UW Milwaukee. Cleveland State favored by 2.5 in this one with a 148.5, 149.5. Excuse me. You've got kind of surprising to see Cleveland State surprise with 2 games down this year, both going to Milwaukee. At Cleveland State, Milwaukee has 5.5-point dogs. They win by 4, so get the upset win there. And then as home dogs again at Milwaukee, you get a 9-point win at home. So not a lot of respect to UW Milwaukee. Maybe that's what you're chalking it up to. They have won 2 straight games now as 1.5-point dogs, one of them being to that Cleveland State team on February 25th. Now this a few days ago. Actually not sure if that's the tournament or I assume that's the tournament here. Let's double check on that. Okay, yeah, that is the tournament. They a few days off in between games in this tournament. But anyways, they beat Wright State on March 2nd, so end of last week, as 1.5-point dogs, 87-70 there. So now they're coming into it with 2 straight wins against Cleveland State in this matchup. They were underdogs both games. Underdogs the last 2 games, one of those to Cleveland State, and now against Wright State. Probably time for Cleveland State to jump back into this one and take care of business. I'm seeing a pretty 50-50 split on the public in this one. I assume most people haven't been watching these 2 teams, but I'm going to go on record saying Cleveland State gets it done in this one after being favored in both times against this team and losing. They are coming off of a win as 6.5-point favorites. They win by 5. So, again, maybe if you're thinking UW Milwaukee hasn't been respected, you take them again. But or if you've been on that train, then go ahead and take them. But I'm going to say Cleveland State gets this one done tonight. That one's on ESPN2, 8:30 my time, 9:30 East Coast time there. So the other one, semifinal, I believe, in the Summit League. Can't remember if I talked about another semifinal in that one or not. Let's see. North Dakota State, South Dakota State at 8:30 my time, 9:30 East Coast time. South Dakota State 5-point favorites, up from 3.5. 19-12 South Dakota State, 15-16 North Dakota State. These 2 teams are 2-3 in the Summit League right now, or to finish out the regular season. South Dakota State, the number 2 team there. North Dakota State starting to get hot right now. They've won 4 of their last 5 here, at least with the one loss to the number 1 team in the conference, Oral Roberts, by 8. They have rattled off no road games, so this one, along with the neutral site game yesterday, this would be the second neutral site game. They win against St. Tommy's by 9 as 3.5-point favorites. They win at home against Western Illinois as 8.5-point favorites by 2, and then take care of business against South Dakota State. South Dakota. South Dakota State, this is their only second game as well. They're coming off 4 out of 5 as well, with the one loss being to Oral Roberts. Kind of a similar trend there. So playing solid ball, South Dakota State. They've split this season between these 2 teams. North Dakota State got the first one as underdogs at home, 2.5-point underdogs. They win by 6. And then South Dakota State wins 90-85 on February 4th as 6-point favorites. So only a 5-point swing here. I kind of think this one feels a little spot on to me. I'll go with South Dakota State getting the win, but it's going to come down to maybe some free throws for the cover there. Wouldn't surprise me if North Dakota State gets it done, but I'll lean towards South Dakota State, but I would not be upset if anyone disagreed with me on that one. Final game of the night, I believe this is also semifinal for the West Coast Conference, San Francisco and Gonzaga. Jeff has talked about this San Francisco team quite a bit. Didn't end the season the way they would like to. The last couple of weeks, they managed to string some wins together. But aside from that, middle of the season, end of January, early February, didn't have their best stuff. Lost both times here to Gonzaga at San Francisco as 9.5-point dogs. Gonzaga wins only by 2. And then February 9th at Gonzaga, Gonzaga wins by 18 there. First game in this tournament for Gonzaga, they had the old double bye or whatever it is for this tournament here. They're rattling off wins. They're playing really well. They had the cupcake coming into this against Chicago State out of conference. And before that, rattled off wins at home against St. Mary's, San Diego, at Pepperdine, Loyola. So they are rolling. But San Francisco starting to round back into form a little bit here. February 23rd, win against Portland at home. Lose at BYU by 26, so obviously a tough one there. But then bounce back with a win against Pacific. Nothing crazy there, not a very good team there. But a win against Santa Clara in this tournament as 4-point dogs was really surprising. I shouldn't say surprising, but really impressive. Really nice underdog win there. So I'm going to go on record and say San Francisco can keep it close. I would like to I'd like to see a 9.5-point spread again here, or even 10.5, 11. But the 14-point spread is fairly respectable here for Gonzaga, especially the way that they're playing. But another one where you could see them looking ahead to the championship game. I know they've had this situation a lot, and sometimes they'll look ahead. Maybe they respect San Francisco, number 6 team in the conference this year, but a tough team. But obviously the Gonzaga St. Mary's bout potentially in the championship is fairly reasonable to expect them looking ahead there. So not sure what to expect out of that one, but I could see San Francisco hanging in there. So that about does it for college basketball tonight. We'll breeze right through NBA as I've got to get out of here, but 5 or 6 games here, 6 games in the NBA. Boston and Cleveland, again, we've had some injury in this one. Jason Tatum is out of this one, so I'm going to skip past that one. Boston just played in a long game. Was that last night against the Knicks? He had double overtime, so he's getting the night off there. Philly and Indy, I believe. Last I checked, Tyrese Halliburton was questionable. Maybe he's out of that one, but he is questionable. Nesmith is out. Miles Turner questionable. So another one that I'm not really trying to get into. Indiana coming off on the second night of a back-to-back, though. Surprised to only see it 7 with Halliburton questionable there, so maybe I respect Philly in that one. The one that's a little stinky that I will say I'm interested in, however, it is kind of at a point where maybe if you've been on the train and this is a bad team, underdog team that I've followed all season long I've had a lot of success with, seems like maybe the point where that's time for some regression, but Detroit hosting Portland, kind of a light your eyes up 5.5-point spread here again at home against Portland. I believe Damian Lillard is in this game. Another reason to scratch your head of why this one is so short. But my reason for concern, 3 of their taking out the game against Cleveland and they were 16.5-point dogs. That is not a go spot at all. 3 of their 4 games before that, 7.5-point dogs at Orlando, they managed to cover. 7.5-point dogs against Toronto at home, they managed to cover. 7-point dogs at Charlotte, but Charlotte, another team that I believe that one was out without LaMelo, so that one, as opposed to a low number, kind of a little bit high with another bad team. And then 7-point dogs at home against my Bulls, they lose by 2 and cover there. So 3 spots where I would have been interested straight where the Pistons have taken care of a low number. They are still losing their faces off, but they have been keeping these games closer. Again, it's definitely a sticky one to me. This one, I saw a lot of public buying on Portland in this one. So kind of maybe a trap spot here, but again, beware. I would stay away from the Blazers. It's a Pistons or nothing spot for me, but have had way too much success with the Pistons to dive back into the well. The 4th time out of 5 games or whatever it is here. So I'll leave that one on the desk. But again, don't be surprised if the Pistons are keeping it close in that one there. So we'll skip through these other ones. These other ones are pretty fair as well. But again, just wanted to pop on with some of these mid-major games and some of these championship games in the tournament. And then as far as I know, at least one or both of Jeff and I will be back tomorrow with a bigger slate of college basketball going on. We'll get you geared up. Maybe we'll have some looks on top of TJ. Thanks for popping in and sparking the ACC conversation. Maybe Jeff and I will have some more conversations down the line of these conference tournaments. I know the Big Ten is going to be interesting. Big 12 should be really interesting. SEC as well. Big East, obviously, Jeff's going to have some opinions there. So I'll go ahead and quit rambling. If you are wagering anything, wager responsibly. Best of luck to you on some of these games here tonight. Apologies if I didn't get to a game that you're interested in. But, again, thank you for stopping by, and we will stay tuned. We will keep you posted on what we've got going the rest of the week. Thanks, everybody.